Welcome to another edition of the Cook and the Coach podcast. I'm Beza, I'm the coach.
And I'm Kenny, I'm the cook. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hope we're all doing well during quarantine. I know we're going to be here a little longer. Well, it's just announced, Minnesota's going to be on lockdown for another 2 more weeks. So we're here at least through May 18th. I mean, I'm sure he'll extend it at least one more time, if not a couple more times. So
yeah, I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. I think it's likely.
I've been working at one of my jobs because it's essential, but then another one of my jobs, I actually started yesterday. We started back up.
Oh, good.
So
that's good.
I mean, they were paying me this whole time anyway, but they're like, yeah, come back and start doing stuff again. So I'm like, all right,
sure.
But
good for you though. That's good.
I'm not complaining though.
Yeah.
Fortunate enough to have income, and a lot of people right now are, either applying for unemployment or are in a weird situation. So I'm blessed.
It's good, man. It's good. Well, I have my food segment for today actually kind of is related to one of my jobs. If we want to jump into that. Cool.
Jump
okay,
right in.
So this is kind of a shameless plug, but it's also like a celebration real quick. So on the weekends, I work, I'm a cook at Union Hmong Kitchen, which is it's just awesome. It's a really awesome place. And what's really cool is we got featured on Bon Appetit, like the magazine.
Nice.
Yeah, so we were one of Chef Yia Vang's dishes is on the cover of Bon Appetit right now, and they've had like a couple articles about him and his recipes, and a lot of like Instagram stuff, and so it's been really exciting just to see that. So if you guys want to check out some of the recipes, these like awesome recipes that Chef Yia Vang came up with, he's a super cool guy and he's an amazing chef. And so we got like blistered green beans with fried shallots. We got tri-tip steak with tiger bite sauce, purple sticky rice, grilled butterfly chicken with lemongrass sauce, potluck chopped salad, and then also a sweet and spicy cucumber salad. So if you want to learn how to make all of those, I believe all of those recipes are all for free on Bon Appetit's website. Just search Bon Appetit Union Hmong Kitchen, and there'll be like 2 articles that come up. And yeah, you can check it out. It's super, super exciting. And if you want to follow them, they're, I think, at Union Hmong Kitchen on Instagram. And we're still doing takeout and at the food truck and whipping out some really good shit. So stop by if you're in the area.
That's dope. Let's actually stay in your segment for just a second.
Yeah.
So how long before the quarantine did you start at the food truck?
I did. It was almost right away. Like I had maybe a couple shifts, but we saw it coming in the horizon. And then I think the next weekend it was like lockdown. And so ever since then, it's been very weird. It's like, maybe that's not true. Maybe I had like 2 weekends worth of shifts, but it happened. We were noticing something was going to happen real quick. I actually think that staging is spelled like stage, but staging is when you like do a shift for free just to see if you mesh well with like the kitchen. So I did that and helped with this Kickstarter fundraiser that they did. And even then, I think people might have been making coronavirus jokes. And I was like, oh, wow, this is like already happening. But yeah, it's been like almost as soon as I started.
It's just funny to me how like, I don't know if funny is a word, but like, it's just interesting how like you start a job and like a week and a half, 2 weeks later, like coronavirus hits. But like, this is the job that you've like kept.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Isn't that like interesting?
It's wild, man. Yeah. This is the job that I've been consistently working. Otherwise, like I got furloughed at my hotel restaurant marketing job that I had, that I also started at pretty much the same time, because it's like in the hospitality industry, like they can't be keeping that up. Like it's like not sustainable when no one's allowed to travel. So yeah, it's very weird.
And like, not only that, but like cooking is obviously like your passion, like one of your biggest loves in life. And like throughout quarantine, you're still able to do your job, which is cooking and preparing meals and stuff like that. So
yeah,
I feel like cool. I don't know, like, and we don't have to go too deep into this, but I feel like year ago, or even like a year and a half ago, especially, like you were in a stage in life where like, you know, I don't want to go deep into it, but like you just were in the best spot, you know, or
No, I
you
was
were at
not.
least happy with how things were going.
No, I
And
definitely
I feel
wasn't.
like obviously a quarantine's like not ideal, but like I feel like for you, this is like almost ideal, like what you're doing and what your work, what job you're doing right now is like
Oh,
almost ideal for,
well,
you
thank
know,
you.
this time in your life, you
Thanks,
know?
Faze. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I'm really happy for you, man.
Thank you. It's really, I feel really good. What I was saying at the end of the our last episode with Ali, like I feel like I've been noticing recently that I've just had to, the past couple years have been like tricky, like really difficult, and a lot of it's just like 20 something, just like figuring stuff out, and
Mm-hmm.
it's, but I've noticed I've had to like tap out in different ways, like emotionally or socially, or like not knowing what I want to do always, like career wise. And now I feel like I'm like, with this quarantine moment, like I've been lucky enough to have a time just to kind of take a deep breath and just kind of like focus on learning stuff and reflecting.
Yeah, for
And I
sure.
feel like now it's like I have too many things I want to work on. And like I feel like I might be able to actually come out of this and kind of get back to like who I feel like I was, but didn't have like all of the tools to be, I guess. So yeah,
Sure.
I feel good. I don't
Yeah,
know.
man.
But yeah, Baze, what about you? How have you been doing? What's new in like the coaching life?
I mean, it's interesting, right? Because I actually had a meeting yesterday with some of the coaches,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, it's weird because like week by week, you know, everything is changing. You have to readjust your plans. Um, you know, obviously, I think it was last week. Walton did the announcement and stuff about schools closing for the year,
Mm-hmm.
which basically meant like there's not going to be a sports season for the spring.
Uh,
For a while, there was a point in time where we thought we could have a really short spring season that would last for like, you know, 6 weeks, and we would do it in the summertime, like start end of May, go through, you know, the fourth. That was
mm-hmm.
our, because that's what Iowa does for a couple of their sports is they do, you know, summer sports, you know, with baseball and track. So
Yeah,
we thought we were going to do the same thing, but then
yeah,
Walt's like, nope, not happening. So so now, for as a coach who coaches year round in different sports and different avenues,
yeah.
so I think, okay, track's done. Move on to planning for summer stuff. So summer strength and conditioning for all my athletes, and then also prepping for football season, right?
Yeah.
So so technically now we are in our summer season, technically speaking.
Right.
So before, so like a week and a half ago, I wasn't able to talk to my athletes at all about workouts and stuff. But now, since we're technically in the summer season, I have full reign as far as, you know, communicating with my athletes and stuff. So
Nice.
we're me and the other strength coaches are gonna get together soon and figure out a off season plan, like at home, for the next month and a half.
Sure.
And the hope is that we would get back into the weight room in like small groups um, by June.
Okay.
Obviously, we're not sure if that's going to happen or not, but that's the hope and the plan.
Sure.
Um,
That'd be
Obviously,
awesome.
with my bar crawl job being furloughed, so during the day I have a lot more free time, so I'll be able to be with all the athletes the whole day, which would be great.
That's awesome.
Um, it's also weird because like we have lots of camps at the high school
Mm-hmm.
for, like, you know, high schoolers, you know, elementary, middle school, whatever. And I'm supposed to be running a couple of those camps by myself. Are
Oh,
those
sure.
camps gonna happen? I don't know yet. Like, we got to figure out and see.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I think it's weird because there's more like definites of like we know this will for sure happen or for sure not happen.
Right.
But like those questions being answered brings up even more questions. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Everything gets
It's like
complicated.
it's like we have, yeah. Like one question is answered, but that brings up two more questions, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So it's just a never ending process.
Yeah.
Um, I actually had a coaching segment, but I feel like I'm gonna save that one for next week.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
but just to continue on with this, I feel like one thing that not only applies to coaching but to life, because I
Mhm.
think coaching and life are, go hand in hand,
Yeah.
is that you have to try to, I don't want to say go with the flow, but just be ready to adapt when
Mm.
necessary.
Mm.
I feel like, this quarantine has taught us all, like, has kind of give us a shock, like, yo, like, anything can happen at any moment. Be
Right.
prepared in all aspects of life and be ready
Mm.
to adjust in all aspects of life.
Mm.
Um, trying to coach from home and trying to give advice to my kids on what to do, how to, stay in shape, how are we going to attack things when we get back in the weight room, and how
Mm.
to take care of yourself and get ready for when we do get back, has really retaught me, um, like how to like adjust to things when everything hits the fan. So,
Mm. Yeah,
um,
that's huge.
I think what some advice I give to people is, throughout quarantine, take these moments, like to take this time to really figure out, something like this were to happen again in the future. How would you respond differently, and how would you respond the same, and what can you learn? So that's what I would say for this week's coaching segment.
I like that. It's good. I definitely feel
Yeah,
that.
man.
Sweet, dude.
So guys, this guy, I actually met him. Well, let me back up. I actually heard this guy on my favorite podcast. Two of my favorite podcasts actually. So Flagrant 2 and Brilliant Idiots. Andrew Schultz is part of both of them. If you guys listen to the show before, you know how much I love Schultz and what he's done, and the brand he's built and everything he's doing, podcasting and everything. So Abdi was actually on both podcasts, and my when his name was spoken on the podcast, my ears perked up because one, he's from Minnesota, he's from Minneapolis, and two, he's Somali. So he's been on Schultz's shows before, and I actually connected with him when Akash, who's on Flagrant 2 as well, Akash came to his show in Minneapolis. I want to say, I think it was November. Yeah,
Mm.
November.
Okay.
And it's weird because I never seen Abdi before, like like in
Yeah.
person. But like when he walked into like the bar area, for some reason I don't know what clicked me. I was like, is that you know?
Yeah.
Because there was no other smaller kids in the area,
Sure.
in the bar. So I was
Mm.
like, is that maybe that's him? So I'm like, yo, like, are you Abdi? He's like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, oh, and I just introduced myself. I'm like, yo, I'm a big fan of the show, and
Mm.
I remember you were on the podcast a couple times, and we connected there,
Oh, cool.
and
Love that.
became friends that way. And I helped him out. I was a little extra in the short film that he produced. I didn't know this guy until November. Me meet this guy till November, and we kind of became friends since then. So, yeah. For other ado, it's Abdi, everybody.
Everyone's all comfy,
Yeah.
quarantined.
Got my
Comfy and
blanket right
cozy.
here.
Yeah, nice. He's got a blanket outside. I like it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm afraid it definitely might rain at some point, but I like
Yeah.
being out here, so I'm nervous. I might have to run inside at some point.
Oh yeah. No,
Yeah.
hopefully it won't get to that point. But
Yeah,
but I'm
fingers
glad
crossed.
I'm glad to be here though and talking to you guys. I'm a huge fan of you guys' show. You guys are doing some really dope stuff, some dope content.
Oh,
So,
thank you.
Oh, thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we're glad you could be on. This will be great.
mhm.
You'll have to be. I'm really curious to hear your thoughts because me and Beza have very, very different opinions on Parasite, the
Oh
movie.
yeah.
I loved it. I had a great time, and Beza like pretty much walked out, and so he
Oh
was
man.
pissed.
We're gonna get into that. I'm heated. We're gonna get into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But before we do, Abdi, for the people, explain to them who you are, what you do. I mean, I know you go to the U and you're a film student.
Mhm.
You're also a podcast producer. Just explain to people what you got going on.
Definitely. Yeah. I mainly make. Well, of course, my name's Abdi. I mainly work as a journalist, but I'm also going to school right now at the U studying film, television, and yeah, I mean, I've gotten the chance to work on a few different podcasts right now. We're producing one with a friend of mine, Alvin, where we have two hosts. It's called Underrepresented. They are it's Cornell and Calvin, both really reputable guys in their industry, and it's about being Black graphic designers, and we just kind of get into where culture and graphic design intersect. So that's really fun. But yeah, I mean, just generally, I mean, I'm a huge fan of media, and whether it's films, television, podcasts. I like to consume media, and I want to, explore different ways in the future of creating content and changing up the different platforms that we use. Hence the fact that we're on Zoom. Who knew like Skype podcasting and it was going to be the future? You feel me? So,
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So we're always on the cutting edge with things. So that's pretty much just me generally, just Abdi, media guy, I guess. Yeah.
That's
So,
awesome. If I'm gonna make a guess,
Very,
and I'm
very
wondering
cool.
if this is a way that we might bond or connect. When you were in like high school or like middle school, like when video projects would come up in school, were those something that you were excited about?
it was a go-to. Yeah, definitely.
See, there we go.
Always excited. Yeah, like from middle
Nice.
school to even now in college, man. My capstone project was to write a script. So while everybody else was doing like research papers and thesis papers and whatnot, I'm over here like, okay, what's a funny movie I can make, or like what's a funny video I can put together? And we had to write the script, and we had to cast actors and shoot the whole thing, all within a matter of one semester. So that was my capstone senior project. And just like as I did, like you're saying in middle school, if there's a video option, I'm taking that shit ASAP.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh man, those are always the projects I looked forward to the most. I always had so much fun with that. Like, oh, we just get to make a video for this? Like, that's not even work. That'll just be like fun. Like,
yeah, but you're taking so many different skills, right? Where
Yeah.
you're taking all these different skill sets, and it doesn't feel like work. But I mean, damn, I mean, Beza was with us when we shot Temp last semester. I mean, like, and we had you, give us a cameo role. But even in that cameo role, where you had a couple lines, you still had to be there for long hours. Like we were there setting up and the breakdown. There's a lot that goes into it, but
totally.
it's just fun, so it doesn't feel like work. You're hanging out with your friends, you're recording funny jokes. And even though sometimes like you're saying the joke on camera for the third time or fourth time, it might get dull, but it's still fun getting to do that option for sure.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, I mean, with the direction you guys are going, and I love this content that you guys are putting out under quarantine.
Thanks.
Because I'm looking to get advice from a cook and a chef. You feel me?
For sure.
While on lockdown, so.
Totally, man.
Yeah. So before we hopped on the call, I was telling Beza that like with finals going on and all the work stuff that we all have to do, on top of that, myself and 2 billion other people are going through Ramadan right now.
Yeah.
Eating during the day. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
I'm hearing the hum of the vending machines right now.
You gotta resist. Don't do it.
I got to. I'm like I can just go in there right now and just take all the vending machines.
Yeah. That's funny. I'm not too familiar with some of like the culinary aspects of that tradition. Are there any foods that you particularly make or like you really enjoy?
Yeah, so I mean, it really depends culturally, right? Like, mostly in the Twin Cities, most of the Muslims here are Somali, so you're gonna see a lot of Somali cuisine at the houses, right? Like a lot of, funny enough, I mean, last night, basically, like this, I ate a little bit of Ethiopian anjera last night.
There you go.
Very filling, very filling food.
Yeah.
Even though I had a little bit of it last night, I still I'm not starving yet. So it really is a good meal to pack some energy into.
Sure.
So it really depends on the household, the cultural background, but always, it's a cultural thing to break your fast with dates. So dates and some water, and that rich kind of sugary, ton of sugar. Taste to it helps out a lot and gives you a burst of energy to kind of get your day started at that point.
Sure.
It's 16-hour days here in North America. Different parts of the world, it's different hours, but from here it's 4:20 a.m. until about 8:20 p.m.
Wow. Okay.
So, yeah, it's a long.
That's a stretch.
Yeah.
That's so much.
It's a lot.
It's
a lot.
Are you allowed to like drink water or have like fluids throughout the day, or is it just nothing?
Nothing.
Oh
nothing.
wow. Okay.
What the recommendation from the Prophet, peace be on him, Prophet Muhammad, was to split into 3, right? And I'm interested to hear what you guys think of this. It's like a third of your belly, food, a third of it fluid like water, and then a third air, just like leave some room to like breathe.
Mm.
So just to kind of have like a bit of a balance,
You're
you
not
know
no
what I mean?
science.
You know, yeah. Right? Like if I were to like eat, you know, so much food that I had, like, first off, sometimes I'll just drink way too much water and then have no room for food. That's where I mess up half the time, right? Like I don't want to be dehydrated, but I also don't want to be starving. So it's really a balance to kind of figure out what your Ramadan, you know, food intake is going to be like, and it really depends also on the amount of energy you exert. So you know, going from the chef conversation, or from the chef to the coach conversation, the cook conversation to the coach, it's tough, you know, like to work out or to have the energy to want to do even a push-up. You know what I mean? Like maybe after I break my fast, I'll do like a few push-ups, but it's tough through the day. I don't know. How like there's a balance there somehow, physical fitness and fasting, and the two are great for
Right.
weight loss. I mean, I don't. Can you guys tell me what you guys have known about fasting in terms of like weight loss or exercise or even just healthy eating
Yeah.
habits?
Yeah.
Days, I feel like you should take this. I'm not too familiar with the fasting component, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I practice intermittent fasting pretty much every day. In college, I spent a lot of time studying ketogenic dieting and intermittent fasting, especially the last year and a half of college. That was what we mostly focused on in my department. So, yeah, I mean, fasting has, amazing, amazing benefits. I mean, uh, the more you fast, the better your cells repair from a cellular level. The more there's been lots of studies that show that it actually boosts your energy levels to a certain point. The only reason why I think Ramadan can be hard for a lot of people is because of the time you're fasting, right?
Exactly. The
So you're
extent.
fasting like the entire day, whereas me, I'm having my first meal in the afternoon, and then I sleep through a night. But that sleep through a night is most of my fasting hours, right? So when I wake up in the morning, it's only a few more hours I have to go until I have to eat. But you guys, the only time you're allowed to eat is at night when you're supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah.
So it's this really like hard paradox you have to go through.
Oh, yeah. When I tell you my sleep schedule, I mean, this kind of the reason why we started a little late is my sleep schedule is messed up. You know, like where I'm up
Yeah.
all night eating, and then most of the day I might sleep until the afternoon, and then get to do most of the stuff I need to get done. It's tough.
Right.
I mean, being in quarantine kind of helps me like not look like a bum because like everybody else is sleeping at home, you know,
Yeah.
and waking up
So
late
true.
so I can kind of mask it, but it's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, with intermittent fasting, I mean, I've heard of the different techniques. So you wake up, say, at a decent time in the morning, but you won't eat until afternoon. Is that right?
Yeah. So, I mean, just to outline what typical day is for me, I'm kind of a nut in the way I diet and the way I work out. I'm, not to say I'm a, huge, fitness freak, but I'm definitely not average Joe either. So I wake up in the morning, usually have like 1 or 2 cups of coffee. For me, that's a must. And I usually drink a lot of water throughout the day. And I'll usually start the morning after my first cup of coffee. I'll usually start with either a core workout or a cardio workout.
Okay.
And then, I'll go to work. I'll go and coach my kids in the afternoon. And then after that's over, I'll probably do my I'll do my lifting session for that day. So that probably takes about hour and a half of just straight up just weightlifting and nothing else. And then after that's when I have my first meal. So that's
Are you kidding?
typically around
Wow.
around I want to say 5:30, maybe 6 in the evening.
Your
Maybe it's a
your
long
first full meal, like you.
my
So
first bite of food.
yeah, I'm over here counting cups of coffee and a bunch of water, but nothing like yogurt, no snacking.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Just 1 or 2 cups of coffee and then about a gallon of water throughout the day.
That
Yep.
is
And
impressive.
then I'll
Yeah.
yeah, man. I mean, it's funny that people think like, oh, it's impressive, but like when you're used to it, it's not hard.
Yeah.
Like I started off doing, 16, 14, 16-hour fasts, and they were hard for me, and I could barely get through it.
Yeah.
3-4 years later, I especially during quarantine, I've been doing about 20-hour fasts, sometimes even 24-hour fasts, and
Wow.
I'm not hungry at all. I feel fine.
My question is like, where do you get the burst of energy to work out, right? Like for me, it's like even if I did eat earlier in that day and I'm hungry, I feel like going to the gym hungry. I mean, do you recommend working out on an empty stomach? Not saying like somebody who's fasting or anything like that, but like maybe I had breakfast but I didn't have lunch. Um,
Yeah.
like should I
No,
have a quick energy meal or?
actually, a lot of people, there's documented cases of this. There's lots of studies on this. Is like actually, it's better for you to work out on an empty stomach.
Mhm.
So when you eat afterwards, your body is more receptive to all the nutrients you're putting into your body.
Yes, it's hungry.
I've known,
It's like
I
yearning
know
for.
for me personally, when I was a freshman in high school, I wake up early in the morning to go do strength training and conditioning training at the high school for football, right, in the summertime.
Yep.
And I realized for myself that, on days where I didn't eat before I worked out, I actually felt better than days where I had a breakfast before I worked out.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then I just kind of realized, I didn't know what fasting was or anything at the time, but I knew for myself that if I didn't eat before I worked out, or if I didn't eat before I did a track and field meet, I was competing, I would actually feel a lot better. I would feel a lot, light in my feet and feel more stronger even,
Mm-hmm.
And there's actually a huge trend going on in powerlifting right now where a lot of powerlifters are adopting the intermittent fasting method, and they're actually not eating before they do their,
Their lifts.
500-pound bench, but they feel better,
Yeah.
So, but again, I think it's hard for a lot of Muslims at this time because the time you're fasting is the issue.
Yep.
So what I recommend to the 2 billion Muslims across the world is, if you're trying to get your workouts in during Ramadan, I would do shorter, not as intense workouts,
Mhm.
but I would do them right before you eat.
Okay.
So it might keep you a little bit more wired throughout the night. You might be able to sleep as well. But if you want to keep those workouts going, I would say do it about an hour or so before you break your fast with food.
Okay. I'll take that. I mean, yeah, one thing I've been wanting to do is either go on runs more, do a bit of weightlifting at the crib with some free weights, just something to kind of keep physically active. But yeah, I think the best case scenario is right before I eat because I'm gonna be hungry. I'll tell
And you
you
know what? I'm
that.
glad you brought that up because if you wanted to do both weight training and also some sort of running or cardio, what I would actually recommend is, if you just to have that energy throughout the day, just to get your mind and your body alert,
Mhm.
I would actually go on that cardio or that run
Mhm.
first thing in the morning.
Mhm.
And I was like first thing in the morning, because that way you're mentally stimulated, but your body's awake and it's moving.
Yep.
And you're not really depleting your muscles of any glycogen at that point, not as much as you would be during weight training.
Yep.
So actually, like, fasting after do that running and cardio is not going to affect you that much at the cellular level. Whereas if you were to weight train in the morning and you didn't eat, it would you would see a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But I would say do your cardio running in the morning first thing,
Mhm.
and then right before you eat,
Mhm.
that's when you do your weight training and your more heavy resistance training. That's what I'd recommend.
Okay. I mean, I could see myself doing like a super early or late night run in the neighborhood, right? Like something like that, and then starting the fast. Is that what you mean, or even after the fast to do the run?
Yeah. I would say that. Yeah, start your fast that way.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay. Yeah, I can definitely see myself doing that. Then kind of rest, let the time pass, and then an hour before breaking it, get some push-ups.
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Nice.
I could definitely do that. See, now that to me seems much more doable than like trying to spend an hour and a half at the gym with no water, no food. Insanity.
Yeah.
Straight insanity.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know for me, like, college was different because we had a very strict schedule for sports wise,
Yep.
With our training and stuff. But I know for me, I function way better breaking up my 2-hour workout into one 30-minute session and then an hour and a half session later.
Yep.
So instead of like doing all this cardio and being exhausted and then going to my heavy set of squats for reps.
Yeah.
I like to do my cardio first thing in the morning, wake up, start my day, and then in the afternoon when I have a little more energy, got some caffeine in me. Now I hit the weights. Now I can go 100 miles an hour, and I still get a full day of training in that way. So
I like that. I like the idea of splitting it up. And I think, I mean, that's probably something I'm going to try and take with me after this time, next month,
man.
after Ramadan ends, to have a bit of a balance with my intermittent fasting. So I appreciate that, guys.
For sure, man. For sure, man.
Out of curiosity, has Ramadan felt really just odd or different with all the lockdown stuff and the quarantine? Like, how has it affected like how you like participate with that?
Yeah, you know, the curious thing to me when all this stuff went down with the whole coronavirus, I saw that Ramadan was coming up. You know, once a lot of the lockdown orders had come in, and what's so funny is that year after year after year, practicing Ramadan, there's nothing really too different. There's literally no difference. I hit up all my friends. I tell them, hey, it's going to be 30 days. I'm not going to hang out. I'm not going to see you guys. I'm probably just going to be at the crib with family. Literally, like there's no difference for me. Because I have zero. Again, the amount of energy that I have to expend is at zero. So I'm not going to come out. I'm not, hopping out of the crib until about 8:00. Maybe I'll come see a couple of friends and play FIFA or something. But other than that, I mean, it's interesting how little has changed for us in the Muslim community, where or even any kind of religious community where there's Lent or there's Passover, where you're at home every evening with family, having a feast. It's like the holidays. You feel me? So it's nothing that I've done before. Last year during Ramadan, I binged all of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean?
Oh, nice.
That's all I did. I was at home binging Game of Thrones, and it's a really good time for content, to be honest with you. So I've finished how many different shows during the last couple of weeks, alone, and we've only been in Ramadan a week and a half, and I'm over here oh yeah, I've watched all these shows. So
that's funny.
That's not what you're supposed to be doing during Ramadan. You're supposed to be reflecting on God and the beauty of life, and being thankful for all that. But for me, it's a time to just kind of kick back, relax, reflect, chill at the crib, see family, especially when you're, at our age as young men right now, especially trying to get into our careers and do all the things that we want to do, where life is like this, it's always running. And, I don't go out, I don't drink. So it's not like I'm missing too much of the nightlife either. But that's, so it really just seems like we're in an extended Ramadan, to be honest with you.
Right.
It's is this Sharia law coming to the land right now? What's going on?
All America's getting a dose of Ramadan, whether they like it or not.
Pretty much, yeah, dude. I've seen so many memes of this where we're not, shaking hands is not a big thing with the opposite sex in Islam, so that's one thing. Shaking hands, covering your face, staying at home. It's like the whole country is under Sharia law or something.
That's hilarious.
So quarantine is Ramadan.
Quarantine is Ramadan.
Sharia law right now. Right. I love it.
Straight up. It's not that bad. I mean, I try to tell people it's not that bad. Depends on who your overlord is. I try to put people on, and you get extra wives. No, I'm just kidding. That's not a part of quarantine.
You mean side chicks, right?
Yeah, just side chicks.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of the side chick thing happening, I'm sure, for quarantine. But that's a different.
Do you think white girls could handle Ramadan since they're always hangry? Do you think it's a thing they'd struggle with, or? It's
interesting. No, I think most people. That's another thing too. Me having the experience of Ramadans for, almost 20 years. I'm 26 now, but starting off as a young kid, I've gotten used to it. And so I can't imagine if I had a life where I was, Becky, and had Sunday brunches every Sunday and
mimosas, all of the mimosas.
Exactly.
And a Sunday skirt, just looking fresh.
Right, I like it. Seriously, somebody like that could not. I don't think and it's it's obviously a stereotypical boxed version of this person we're talking about. But the average person, if they're not level-headed, if they don't have a routine that they can continue on with during quarantine, I think they're gonna lose it, dude. Like mentally, like that's a whole other aspect of this. We're talking about the physical and the physical health of somebody during quarantine or Ramadan. But yeah, the mental health stuff is tough. That's why you guys are men of faith, and when it comes to times like these, you kind of need something above you or bigger than you to turn to. And so,
Right.
if the girls are not giving you good existential life advice, and all they can talk to you about is like, I don't know, The Bachelor, you're gonna be in for a tough time. But that's why it's important for us to check in on our friends, see how people are doing, and I think like honestly, it's not that bad to like have over a few few friends or check in with people and hang out. But I think the average person is having a tough time with quarantine, and I don't blame them. We're a very over social society. We all have this thing with its social media. You know what I mean? So
for sure,
totally.
It's very tough. It's very tough to break away unless you've given yourself that for the past like 1400 years once a year. So
Yeah, you have some good momentum going.
yeah. But it worked out, I guess.
Nice.
Right.
That's fantastic. I love that.
But I really want to get into this conversation, though. I mean, again, with Ramadan, there's a lot of content that I've been taking in, and I definitely watched Parasite a few weeks back, about a month or so ago, I think.
Man,
it was a great movie, man. I mean, so you guys watched it at the theater together, or what happened?
So it was literally it was the last thing we saw before lockdown.
It was
actually,
like the day before. It was the day before lockdown, wasn't it? Like literally the day before.
Yeah, like a day or two. Like word was in the air, and we were watching this movie, and then like a couple days later, that happened. Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh man!
Like there was no one in the theater. Like not even like our own like theater, but like there was like nobody in the entire like complex. Other than the workers.
I love going on dates like that. I mean, it's you guys, the bros, but like you got to.
It's for content, right?
Those, yeah, I love it. But wait, let me ask though, what theater was it? Was it Landmark? Was it Uptown? Because those theaters I can see being very empty after a while.
It was the New Vision in Mounds View.
Okay.
Commonwealth Theater.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So if you guys went all the way out there, I've been there before. That's actually surprising. That's kind of a big theater for it to be.
It's a bigger venue for sure. We were shocked. We walked in. There's like, there's no way in here. All right, lit.
This is like March-ish, early March.
Yeah, middle of March. Like literally, I think like the day before quarantine.
Lockdown, yeah. Middle of March. So people are already freaked out about the movie theater. That's probably why.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, yeah, it was like super, like almost empty there. Sorry, real quick, my computer is about to die. I'm so sorry. I gotta grab my cord. If you and Baze just want to talk, I'll jump back on in a sec.
Yeah, do your thing.
Cool. All right, sorry. I'll be right back.
Awesome. Yeah, no, right. I mean, I definitely want to hear Baze like a 5-point review of why that movie sucked enough for you to leave the theater, bro. Why'd you have to dip out of the theater?
Let me explain to you, okay?
Please.
Let me just explain it to people.
Because I respect your opinion.
We talked about movies before in this podcast. We've done a lot of reviews.
Yep.
I'm a movie fan, right? I love film. I'm not a film expert by any means. That's why, we want to have you on to talk about this.
Appreciate it.
I'm not a film critic by any means, but I love movies. I love storytelling. Mm-hmm. I love the process of going to the theater, right?
Same.
One of my favorite things to do on the weekends, go to the movie theater. I love the process of buying a ticket. I love the process of going to buy my popcorn and pop. Like I have a whole thing to do with science. I explained this for like 20 minutes, like my exact routine I go through. I love it.
Yeah.
Even if I don't like a movie, I still want to sit through it and at least understand the whole story. And I'll even watch the credits usually afterwards.
Okay.
This is the first time in my life, either at home or on the big screen, I walked out of a film.
Yeah.
I was so mad. I was so livid. This piece of shit movie made me so upset.
Okay.
So upset.
Can I ask which parts of it upset you?
All of it. The whole thing. The whole thing.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. I know the director is a famous director, has done other great works, and I'm sure his other movies are great. Mm-hmm. But he's trying to angle the movie in a way that's like trying to make the parasites, the poor family, as like these good people who just want to excel in the world, and they're painting the wealthy people as like people who are, I don't know, they don't
Evil,
deserve what they
bad,
have and stuff.
yeah.
No. The pieces of shit are the poor people. They're awful. They're despicable. They deserve to be killed. I was when he stabbed the daughter, I was happy. I was clapping.
Yeah,
I
that was
was
wild.
ecstatic.
Yeah, that was a wild time.
She deserved it.
So you watched the whole movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so you walked out of the theater at the end of it? I thought you walked out like towards the beginning.
I walked out, but then I walked back in because I had to see how it ended. But I did walk out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for dramatic effect, I respect that. But still, I mean,
I'm a dramatic guy. It is what it is.
But the thing, like, I'm surprised because you watched the whole movie, and it sounds like to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like you had a philosophical, moral difference with the stance of the film's director or the writer, more than the cinematic filmmaking aspect of it, right?
This is exactly what I wanted to see. Yes.
The storytelling and like the cinematography and the camera work and the blocking of the character movement.
It was amazing.
Amazing.
So
phenomenal.
great.
Phenomenal. Yeah. I just hated how he was trying to make this complex discussion of class into such a simple narrative. Yeah. It made me so upset. I wanted to throw my phone at the movie screen.
Listen, I get you. I hate when movies preach too. You feel me? And maybe there's some plot holes too with this story. But the fact, let's kind of like separate it all, right? Let's kind of go from what we all agree on that we like. The reason why they won 4 Oscars, by the way,
crazy.
Best director, best picture,
right?
Best original screenplay, and best cinematography, I think. But
I think so.
Yeah, they won
foreign
4.
language film, foreign language too,
right? And they deserve that one over. Yeah, so we agree that it was a well-made, well-executed film. The substantive part of it, we can definitely kind of extrapolate on. But in terms of first off, I just want to shout out the fact that that house that the film was shot in was made from scratch.
Wait, no, it was?
Made from scratch. Yes, it was made from the mind of the director and his set director, so like they had a whole so they had a whole conversation, dead ass, where he said, this is how I want the house, this is how I want it shot, I want it from this angle, I want a big window that sees the backyard because of class reasons, you know what I mean? Like, remember if we look at the poor people's house and how they had that one little opening that flooded into their house, and they had no other way of looking to the outside world. They were almost subterranean, mole people. And then you have these rich people with this big, beautiful backyard, and they have this big, beautiful window that just looks out to the outer world. A lot of that was symbolic for sure. And when it comes to the rich versus poor stuff, I mean, yeah, for sure, I'm with you. Not we don't all have to be Les Miserables and with all this fight the power stuff, for sure. Although I will say it's Korea. I don't know too much about Korean culture. They are a very homogenous people, and I do think the one thing that separates them, whereas here in the U.S. we have so many things that divide us, that it's honestly a miracle that we're still a nation and one of the best nations in history. But yeah, with Korea and how advanced they are and how homogenous they are with one language, one faith, and whatnot, they still have this class divide. And that was really kind of cool to see from his perspective. And maybe he has a bone to pick with rich people. Maybe it was this kind of self-centered, kind of F the rich, eat the rich kind of thing from Boone. I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
Right.
So if that's your complaint, I can listen and I can have that conversation. I thought you just hated the fact that it was in subtitles, which a lot of people didn't.
Oh no!
People have been saying
I'm
that.
mad at all.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
that would be messed up.
Yeah.
No, I mean he definitely well executed. I mean, I just love the blocking of it. How especially that one scene where the camera was following each of the characters and how each character was positioned and the feeling of that shot. I mean, I loved it.
It was awesome. Yeah.
I mean, when they're in their underground house and how they're all compact together, I felt claustrophobic, the shot. But then when they're eating and drinking and in the rich people's house, you see them a little bit more spread out, so
enjoying themselves,
more open. I love the execution of those shots and how they can portray feeling through that.
Definitely.
It reminded me a little bit of when I did theater back in the day, and how like just blocking and just everything was orchestrated well, and like the movement, because they had the long shots, and so everyone had to come in and enter the scene at the right time, and that was really fun.
Yeah. No, I mean, going from, I did some theater in high school too, but yeah, going from that kind of blocking to the filmmaking blocking, it's to coordinate not only with people on a stage and make sure you're cheating out to the audience. That's one thing, but like to have a camera, multiple cameras, and audio and light moving around you, like, shouts out to the actors. Shouts out to the actors for sure. To the director. I get it. I mean, sometimes, like, I think, especially nowadays with some films, there is always this kind of like social commentary in the background, because a lot of filmmakers have to be woke or have some kind of deep-rooted message in their art, which I don't think you have to all the time, but it's fine if you do. Like I was watching that one movie, Knives Out, right? I don't know if you guys have watched that one, but it's like with...
I heard about it.
Yeah, it's like Daniel Craig, and it's like basically a whodunit kind of movie. But then somehow, some way, they go from like all these rich people in one house whose father's dead, and they're trying to figure out who killed their dad for the money. It ends up being this like weird social commentary where they bring in like incels and DACA recipients, and like, all these different current conventional political things that I think, the writers might have just been like, sure, let's throw that in there. Sure, let's have an alt-right nephew, and let's have a Hispanic maid, and make them
strange.
So I don't know. Sometimes that kind of takes away from a story for me, where like I always think, like, especially with the current political landscape, I'm like, yo, what would we be talking about right now if we didn't have the current president we have, or if we didn't have all the stuff that we have going on politically? Like, could we all just be chill, and like not get into all this kind of serious stuff all the time? I mean, it's good to get into it, don't get me wrong, but when you're kind of like posturing yourself to an audience who's just like, we're here to get popcorn and be entertained, and the next thing you know, the movie's like, yeah, screw the Nazis, and I'm like,
it's like, I guess so, but what does that have to do with the plot?
yeah, so things like that are
100%.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that, Beza, for sure. But otherwise, I mean, like, to me, Parasite was dope because now it just shows the fact that the world is cool with non-American films, you know what I mean, winning big awards. And so, as someone who's a filmmaker like myself and who wants to tell stories about East African nations like our own, talk about immigrant stories and stuff like that, that was a W for us, no matter what. You feel me? That the fact that Parasite won that as much as it did.
Totally.
The
director, I loved seeing the director talk, especially when he was accepting some of the awards. He just seemed like the sweetest guy ever.
Oh yeah,
Boone only want to get trashed.
He said he wanted to get.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right.
Because I want to be drinking until Monday.
Yeah. Not to put a damper on anything, but this meeting's gonna run out in 4 minutes. Do we want to like relog back in to a different call?
That might be the best. Is everyone cool with that? I can set another invite in just a sec here.
Sure. Yeah. Is this recording right here?
It's recording. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll download the video real quick and send another invite, and we can hop on in maybe 5 minutes. Sorry, I must have used up all of my Zoom. Gave you an extra 40-minute notification.
That's funny.
So.
That's funny.
Yeah, this is real.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'll send that out in a second. Sounds good.
You guys in?
All right, cool. All right. There we go. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
All right, cool. Sounds good. Sorry about that. I must have used up all of them. I was watching the countdown too. I was like, do I just start like a pro account right now? Just like I was like typing like, how do I set that up?
Is that what they do? Is it like you get a designated hour or so?
Evidently, yes. So I guess they give you like 40-minute chats, and then after that, they're like, well, if you want to talk for longer than 40 minutes, that'll cost you. And so then they try to get you to upgrade. So yeah, it's whatever. So I think I missed a little bit of what you guys were saying, but I think you guys, I'm so glad you said it, because I think this is like the crux of me and Baze's argument that I think it's a good movie, and I like it as a story arc, whereas he doesn't relate with like how the story goes and like the representation of it, but he acknowledges that it's like well put together.
It's a well-made film. Story you could disagree with, right? It could have been anything in the story, right? They could have been poor for whatever reason. They could have embedded themselves in that house for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But like for me, I judge a filmmaker based on like what I like. If I saw the attempt and I saw where they were going,
Yeah.
and if they nailed it or not, right?
Mm.
It's like,
Mm.
okay, this is where you wanted to go. Did you make it? Yes or no? I think Boone hit everything he wanted to hit.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's how I judge it. You know what I mean? I can't say, oh, because of my own self beliefs, right? Like I guess like what I would say to Beza, and I'll say it to him when he gets here.
I know. Where is
that like, you know, I sometimes suspend. You're gonna have to suspend disbelief, right? When you're watching.
Speak of the devil, here he is. Here we go.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Welcome.
Hey, Baze. All right. We're just filling me in on the stuff I missed while I was plugging in my computer.
Yeah. So just basically putting a button on the Parasite convo here. Just saying that for me, like whenever I'm consuming art or consuming any kind of content, especially film, which can really kind of go in any direction with social commentary. Number one, I suspend my, I'm in a state of disbelief. You're suspended disbelief. It's a movie. Not everything's real. But also on top of that, you don't have to agree with the ideas behind it. So, sometimes, I'll shrug off whatever, like, oh yeah, like these poor people totally deserve to take over this house because this rich guy was mean to him and mean to the dad and said he smelled. Obviously that's entitlement. You know what I mean? Like the characters are exaggerations of our own human psyche, right? Like where, like if I'm over here, some guy's better looking than me and richer than I am, and he kind of looks down on me. Part of me is going to want to kill him, but I'm not going to kill him. But
there's a little part of you
a little part of me, a big part of it, no, but a little part of me that wants to do that. And then in the film, they blow up the character, they exaggerate him, and then he actually does it. Spoiler for anybody who has the same Parasite.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Spoilers for this. I
totally agree. Also, Beza, your mic is muted, so I just want you to know. I don't know if you were going to say something.
Yeah, I don't know if we can hear you, Beza.
I thought I was muted. My bad.
There you go.
No, I was just gonna say, I think looking back, I think why I got so upset was because I saw like how well executed the film was, but how murky or sloppy the messaging was. That's
fair. That's a fair criticism.
Because I think the writing was amazing, cinematography was amazing, like all like the technical aspects of the movie were incredible.
Yep.
I think with the message of the movie, I think they failed to deliver a message that was clear or concise or was reflective of, regular everyday life. So I don't know. This is my opinion, but
that's a fair point. I mean, I think, like obviously people have to be responsible with their messaging. Somebody as talented as Bong Joon-ho, the director of Parasite, for him to have the skill set and tools that he has as a director to put together this kind of story, but for it to be a message that might be oversimplifying class and poverty and that kind of stuff. I get that. That's fair. Like if you're upset at like, yo, this dude has a platform that he's not being super responsible with, or he's just kind of like trafficking in like cheap eat the rich material. That's a fair point, dude. Like, there's some of these movies where I'm just like, yo, like I would have done this totally differently. Like I see where you're going. I liked where you're going, the direction you're headed, but you took the easy way out. So I think that's kind of sounds like what you're saying about Boone here.
It felt almost too easy, like a narrative he was trying to portray.
And that's valid.
I mean? That's all I was upset about. So
that's valid. That's super valid. I mean, I can definitely agree with you and see where you're coming from on that, and kind of agree to a point, where like again, I'm kind of a snob when it comes to TV and film because I want to get into that world. And so I think I have like the best like takes or whatever. And so as I'm watching a film, I've said multiple times with friends, I'm like, that's lazy writing. They could have done that better. Like that was just an easy way out. You feel me? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I swear, Bez, if you and I are in a movie and you take me out of the realm of film that I'm in by getting up and walking out of the theater, bro, I'm gonna fight you over the popcorn. I'm gonna throw popcorn.
Dude, I was pissed. I was like, dude, it's like it's almost done. You don't leave.
Yeah.
Listen, it's my First Amendment right to protest, and that was me protesting. All right, I was protesting the movie I'm on.
Bez is gonna start like burning like movie chairs.
Listen, social justice, no, but bad movies, yes. That's what I'll protest against. All right.
There you go.
I feel that. I love any art that kind of reminds me of a different medium of art. Like this movie reminded me of a book a lot, and a little bit of a painting too. Like part of how it was like
Oh, interesting.
composed in terms of like the shots, like it felt kind of like
novel.
almost as if they were a really great example. Yeah, exactly. Or like you were like learning about basic composition, and they were showing you like here's like the best example of this type of shot, you know, and I don't know. I feel like there were like cool literary themes, like a lot of foreboding and kind of I'm forgetting the word for it, but when you kind of imply that something's going to happen later, foreshadowing.
Yep. A lot of
There
that.
was there's this one quote that I hear on this one podcast I listen to all the time, and it's by Chekhov, and it's about writing advice, and it's if in the first act you hung a pistol on the wall, then in the following one it should be fired, otherwise don't put it there. And I feel like there was a decent amount of that, like with even like the window being open, or like some of these like subtle tensions that were starting to grow and grow.
The drawing,
really
the kid's drawing.
Yeah, the drawings are good. Yeah, totally. And I really liked that element of it. It felt like I was like reading a book kind of. So I don't know.
Okay. I remembered the second half of the other part of why I was so upset with the movie.
Okay. What's up?
It's literally the Korean version of Us.
Of Us? Oh, the Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah.
Because of just
like how
basement?
different are those movies really?
Pretty different.
I mean, yeah. Jordan took us to like a sci-fi weird world where like everybody had doppelgangers that were gonna kill them.
Yeah.
You know, that's like a super extreme version of whatever he was trying to do. I can see the similarities in terms of like a family is in their home and they're being usurped by outsiders for sure. I don't know if like Boone ripped off Jordan Peele, if that's what you're implying, but you know, like I can.
In the moment, it felt like that. It felt like it in the moment.
I feel you.
But maybe I could be, obviously maybe he had no idea about Jordan Peele's work. Who knows? But to me, it just felt like
facts.
Too similar.
Whenever I see, there's definitely movies where I feel like they ripped off a plot line, from. I mean, like look at Brightburn. Have you guys heard of that movie, Brightburn?
Heard of it. I don't know much about it, but I know the name.
Yeah, it's like an antithetical like superhero movie where the kid. It's pretty much Superman, but like the kid turns evil.
Cool.
It's really good movie, but it's literally Superman, but evil. Like the kid lands from space onto a Midwestern farm. Two parents who work on a farm raise this kid. He discovers his strengths, but instead of doing cool stuff like saving old ladies or whatever, he just like fucks up people in like really messed up ways.
Wow. Okay.
Good movie. But very similar to an old.
I want to see it.
Yeah, I kind of want to see that too.
Oh my god, it's amazing! It's amazing. You guys should definitely watch it. It's the same director who did Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh really?
James Gunn, the guy who got.
No way.
Yeah. He did that.
I'm watching it. I'm watching it tonight.
Yep, definitely. No, I highly recommend it. It was so good. But like again, like I was, I saw that and I was like, okay, this is a little lazy in terms of like how they went about it because. Again, this is Clark Kent's story. This is our origin story, but now it's with a bad kid. So, sometimes filmmakers cut corners. Sometimes they, take some things from some folks. I mean, I don't know. Again, when these two movies came out, the difference in time and shooting and whatever, I think there's too little of a difference in time for it to be complete overlap or complete theft. But I think there are a lot of these elements of storytelling, like you're saying, Kenneth, like. These tools of storytelling that a lot of people might use and later on might have recycled, right? Like it's the same thing with hip hop,
right?
Same thing with a lot of these filmmakers, bro. Like when I tell you filmmakers think almost exactly alike, it's not that far fetched, right? So for example, I'm not gonna say I'm like this guy, but he thinks like me, and the person I'm talking about is Martin Scorsese. Okay, arguably one of the best filmmakers ever, right?
Right.
Gangs of New York, The Departed. Oh, I mean, I can't even go on the amount of movies made that are hits. He's in production soon to make this book into a film, to adapt this book. I've been thinking about making a movie myself for a few years now.
Oh wow!
It's called The Killing of the Flower Moon or something like that. And it's set to be shot next year in 2021 with De Niro, DiCaprio, and Scorsese as the package.
Wow!
Okay. I heard of this book like 2 years ago with the author on like NPR. Talking about how it was basically the story is about a big conspiracy in this town in Oklahoma where these very rich Native Americans who discovered oil on their tribal lands became billionaires in that time in the early 1900s, or even I think it's like the late 1800s. And slowly, members of that tribe were getting killed off by, folks in the town who wanted to take over their land.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's a wild story, true story. It was based on a book, and I heard this on the radio, and I'm like, yep, I got to get the rights to that book because, let me get famous, because that would be an amazing story on TV or in film. But Scorsese just dropped $5 million on a book, that book, to buy the rights for it now to make a movie that's probably going to get him $200 million.
If only you had 6, Abdi.
Yeah, if only. Damn.
That's exactly the feeling I had when I read that. I could have gotten $6 million in 3 years. So
that's such a cool story.
Right? Yeah. So, that's just to say, like, Jordan Peele, Boone, maybe those ideas came from each other, but like a lot of filmmakers like really do have this kind of like same taste, same way of acquiring things. It's the same thing of like a DJ going through the box crates of like old albums and trying to find something that he can, mix and master or, remix. You feel me? So
yeah,
right.
Totally.
I'll just say it's a good transition to like talk about, the future of film and movie theaters in general because of the pandemic. And I mean, every day seems like this is going to last longer than I thought it would,
It really
so
does.
with that being said, I'll default to you, Abdi. With all these movies being, put on hold production or production being postponed, are we gonna have like a shortage of like movies in 2021, 2022? Or movie theaters gonna go out of business altogether? Is AMC just done now? Like, what do you think is the future of movies in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good question. I think AMC, first off, before Corona, right? I like how people are using BC before Corona when they talk about their time, So in the era before Corona, there was the battle of the streaming networks. And so that's, I think, already been kind of like a juggernaut to mess up the theater industry, right? So right now we're definitely seeing AMC going bankrupt, all these big theater chains having some difficulties staying afloat, like any business at this time. So I think maybe, like when it comes to, it's funny enough that we're talking about film production, because I'm not going to say too much about this, but, I think I might have told Basil a bit about it already, but I'm working on this script right now with a pretty, well-known actor who's going to direct this. And he and I have been talking about like shooting in Africa sometime this year. And now I'm looking at this situation with Corona, and I'm like, oh my God, if they don't let us shoot, they don't pick up this script. You know what I mean? Like now, like with all this stuff going on, like like as things are about to pick up, Corona happens. So that's kind of like a personal plot line to this, where if we find out, I'm sure there's going to be a limited capacity. Everyone who's going to be there has to get tested. There's going to be some kind of constraints that are going to be very different than the average filmmaking experience. Or we finally do enough testing that we find COVID is not as crazy deadly that we thought it was, and things open back up. That's what I'm hoping for. Like today kind of, to switch gears here for a second, in Minnesota, where we all three of us are, they just had their biggest increase of new cases in one day, 600, I think. But that's because they've increased their testing capacity. Right? So the more tests that we do, they said that 1 in 3 people today that were tested were found to be positive, meaning that out of the 3 of us here in this conversation,
I just dropped.
I mean, hey, my sister probably had it, so I probably have it. I think I have it, to be honest. I think I have it.
Yeah, and you probably had it, past tense, right? Like how many people probably had it and didn't even know or talk about it. Right. So I think once cooler heads prevail and we figure out a way to like deal with this thing, I think different industries are going to like phase that in. So in terms of theaters though, and the capacity they would have to have like 100 people in a room and stuff like that, I think it's going to be a little tough to sell that in the near future. It's not like we don't have a huge catalog of films and televisions to like go off of for the next 10 years. Because how many movies have there been that we haven't all seen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So we can go off of that for sure for now. But as somebody who's trying to enter into the filmmaking world, who wants to make movies, but is also who cares about their health, I can see a lot of these big companies who who've invested billions of dollars, millions of dollars, right? They're not going to not make films or not make content. They're going to still have to find ways to get around this, whether or not it's going to be filming in countries or states that don't give a crap about Corona. That could be one thing. I mean, Georgia opened back up. Georgia is the state where they shot Black Panther, the Avengers films. So many different television shows are shot in Atlanta. So that's a good sign. But in terms of the future of content, the future of media, in the era of isolation, I mean, it's really anyone's game right now. One thing I've loved so far is just on my phone. It's so funny that anytime my phone is like that, it just like flicks. Anyway, on my phone, I've downloaded Quibi, right? And that's a new app that's just been kind of promoted during this time. It dropped on April 6th for the first day. It's a very sweet app where like all you need to do is 90 days for free. You just put down your credit card, but you get 90 days for free, and it's all under 10 minutes. You feel me? So short little bite-sized content like that, definitely at this time, would probably be huge. I was at home the other day. Somebody was watching TLC, and they were talking about, it was like some reality TV show, and they're talking about coronavirus and their fears. Like, so there's a camera crew already out here following people around. Still, shows are still being shot. So reality TV might have a crazy boom in the next few years.
Wow.
But
like when there was that writer strike back in the day, and that was kind of what led to that big initial spike in reality shows. Like I could see like some style of shows and movies coming about from this.
Or this, guys, right? Like this right here. Like imagine we were live, or, we had a platform. You feel me? Like that we could bring this out to the people. How many people are like on? One thing I've discovered now is like people. Especially like a lot of young Somali folks will go on live and like talk to each other. Like apparently my brother was like in a group chat with Idris Elba's wife, who's Somali, and she's over here.
Really?
Yeah, like she's like on these like popular like Somali Instagram pages, like talking with folks and whatnot. And so people are still connected. People are still finding entertainment, even if it's like raw forms of entertainment like this, just conversations between friends. I think folks are going to find entertainment wherever they need to. But I'm curious to see what happens in the landscape of media within the next year or two, because it's going to be different. That's for sure.
Totally. I was just thinking this, like, I wonder if I love a drive-in theater, and they're kind of, they haven't been really around much anymore, but if people have to socially distance and stay in their cars, like maybe maybe that becomes like a new boom though. That could be amazing.
They're opening some around the country right now. There's one here near Stillwater, the Valley High or whatever. Valley High.
I've been to that one. Yeah.
I've never been to any of the ones in the state, but I would love to go the second they give us a green light. And again, like that's fine to go to the movie theater. Even find yourself a projector at the crib, set that up. You feel me? Like there's so much that you can do. I mean, I do love the movie going experience. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just that we're going to have to find ways to adjust. If it's going to be like one of the homies has to have like a nice backyard and we have a little bit of a fire pit and we put it on a projector, let's do that, or figure out different ways to kind of adapt to the current situation. Because I gotta have a movie night once in a while.
Oh my gosh, totally. You have to have it. Are there other movies that you've been watching or shows during the quarantine and lockdown that have really stood out to you, you've really enjoyed?
Yeah, some recommendation. I mean, obviously Westworld's a great show.
I've been hearing a lot about that. Like my chef has been giving me that advice for a while.
I would recommend it, especially the fact that Game of Thrones is a huge show for you. Definitely check out Westworld. It enters more of a futuristic world, but the story is as layered as Game of Thrones. I love Dave, Lil Dicky's show on FX.
I've heard good
awesome.
things about that.
Oh my, watch that ASAP. It's very short too. It's like 20-30 minute show, but just so well executed. I love those kind of shows. For me, it's like long form or short form. Again, Quibi, just download the app. There's a bunch of shows on there. I just watched that one Chris Hemsworth show, or Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, is it the Extraction movie with Chris Hemsworth? That's
my bad. I saw that movie, Chris Hemsworth, Extraction. His brother, the one that used to date Miley Cyrus, is Liam Hemsworth.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he has a show on Quibi called The Most Dangerous Game, and it has Christoph Waltz, the guy from
Oh,
Inglourious
it's based off that short story.
I heard about
I think
this.
so. Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah.
Is there a short story that was written for this?
Yeah, the most dangerous game. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'm totally out of the loop. But tell me, I mean, what's
It's so good.
Yeah,
It's so
what's the
good.
It's
short
like
story?
basically like this guy like lands on this island,
Mhm.
and he has to like basically avoid getting killed by this old rich dude.
Mhm,
That
mhm.
sound pretty similar to the show?
It's essentially the plot of the show. Yeah.
Okay, then yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. People
there you go.
rich people pay a crazy amount of money to chase after this guy and kill
Yeah,
him.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
freaky.
It's
Yeah.
really dope. I like it. And again, it's 10 minutes. There's like 10 episodes, but each of them is 10 minutes, and so you're just like clicking to the next one. They have
It's so fascinating. Like the difference in terms of like the media type and everything,
Yep.
like from like the
Like-
world of like 3-hour long podcasts to
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
a TikTok, and then like slightly expanding it just up to 10 minutes, you know, like that's so interesting that that's come about.
I mean, it's you're right. I mean, yeah, like that's going from Joe Rogan to TikTok. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's the era we're in content now. We just have it's supply and demand. We have a huge supply and there's a huge demand. It's just going to take folks like you guys, myself, and others to figure out the best way people can consume this information and content.
Totally.
That is so interesting. Like content is like going on both directions, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have like the 4-hour long Jogan podcast. You have like the huge Netflix binge of like 10
Mhm.
hours.
Mhm.
But then you also have the short TikToks. You also have like the David Dobrik vlogs that are like 4 minutes long each. They
Mhm.
post every day. Like you have Quibi, which is like a 10-15 minute thing, which is like in the middle. So it's like
It's totally
there's
different.
so
Yeah.
much more content, but like it's going to like both extremes. It's so interesting to like think about.
And part of me is like, I will be like, oh, well, I can binge an episode or maybe a couple of a show. But if I'm like, I'm going to sit down and for 2 hours for a movie, that feels longer to me. Like I'll accidentally watch 3 hours of a TV show, but I just to commit to 2 hours is like a weird decision.
It is, and I think
Yeah.
it probably comes more so from the fact that your mind is able to break them down, right? Like
Mm.
per episode. But yeah, like you're just like entering uncharted waters when you throw on a movie for 2 hours because you're not sure if that whole 2 hours is going to be worth it.
Totally.
That's interesting. Right. Yeah, the two different directions that content is going is a very interesting conversation. Yeah, this was fun. I mean,
Yeah,
if you guys have any other
This was
questions,
amazing.
Yeah, this has been great.
Yeah, but please, I mean, I'd love to be on again, and hopefully
Totally.
in person. I know we plan to do
Absolutely.
one in person, but yeah, with this whole thing, it's uncharted waters on its own too, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, we appreciate you being on. This has been so fun. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me, you guys. I learned a lot, and hopefully we made Beza more open-minded to films about poor people and the rich. And
yeah, I think we did pretty well. I think we did
great
well.
movie. I still hate it. It hasn't changed the way I feel about the movie. I still hate it.
Yeah,
Before
I respect that.
Before we leave, Abdi, give them where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you?
Oh, yeah,
where can they access you?
Definitely, yeah. You can reach me on Instagram and Twitter at Abdi, ABDI, STP for St. Paul, Abdi, STP. On Twitter and on Instagram. That's where you'll find me just posting whatever it is that I'm up to. So,
hell yeah.
Amazing. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
See you, man.
Stay up, stay blessed. Peace.
Yeah, stay blessed.
All right, guys. Thank you again for listening. That was our interview with Abdi Mohamed, good friend of mine. Appreciate him coming on. Again, you can find us at Podcast The Cook and the Coach on Instagram, Twitter at the Cook and the C1. You can find me on Instagram at Beza Tensaya, BAEZATENSAIE.
You can find me on Instagram as well, KPMartin2, KPMartin2. Also, Haymarket Catering. That's my food page that I started recently. Also, I make music, and you can listen to my EP that I put out. It's called Bucket List. If you look up Bucket List Kenny Martin on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud. I also think it's on Tidal and a few other, like Amazon Music and a few others too. But
everywhere. Go find it. It's everywhere. Go find it.
Yeah, everywhere. But yeah, check it out. Listen to it. And if you have food questions or fitness questions, hit up me and Baze and we'll try our best to answer them.
Guys, we love you. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you're getting through this quarantine all right. We love you guys. And we will see you next episode.
Goodbye.